And welcome to this week's episode of the TechnoBuffalo Show. I'm one of your two hosts for this week, Sean Ani, editor-in-chief of the site, and I'm joined, as always, by executive editor of Mobile, Todd Hazelton.
Hey, everybody.
You know,
Actually, deputy managing editor, right?
oh, yeah, I apologize. I forgot. Yes, he is now deputy managing editor. My apologies, Todd. I did not mean to steal your new title from you. Yes, Todd is now our deputy managing editor, which means he's still pretty much Todd.
Yeah, doing Todd things.
But I didn't say the name of the number of the episode when we started because I realized I had no memory of what the number was. It's 34.
Oh, yeah. 34, yeah.
It's 34. So yes, our apologies for no episode last week. As I mentioned in episode 33, it's difficult at times gathering up the troops, and with Todd out of town on a assignment, I was just like, I give up. So, we try our best around here, though, folks. And I actually thought about doing a solo show, and I was like, that would be the most boring thing ever.
Hey, Sean, what do you think? I'm Sean. Just talking back and forth.
Yeah, I finally revealed that I have multiple personalities.
Split screen.
Yeah, why not? So on this week's episode, we're going to tackle a couple different topics. The first one being, so tablets, they're doomed.
Yeah, well, we just saw that there's a report out for the first time ever. I think it was ComScore, I forget. First time ever tablet sales declined in the fourth quarter, which is compelling because it's the holiday buying season, so you think usually sales are up, but annually I think they were still up a slight percentage. And I think we were talking the other day, why are they down? And I think it's because we both saw the iPad Air 2. We were like, we don't need that. It's sort of like you get to this point where there's somewhat of a saturation where you don't need to upgrade a tablet so frequently, perhaps not as frequently even as, say, your smartphone. And I think that's why we're seeing sales down a little bit. But people are still bullish on the coming years. I mean, and you see sort of reasons why this might change. Rumors about the iPad Pro. So if they have a bigger screen with split screen, that gives you a reason, say, to go buy that tablet, because if you already own an iPad and you can't do it with that one, then maybe you'll switch and upgrade. And then with Windows 10 coming out, I think a lot of people are going to see. I'm actually testing it on my desktop, so not with a touchscreen, but I think a lot of people will see some pretty nice advancements there that people will like. And one example is Office Suite was released yesterday. It's finally touch optimized, so you can touch around it. And that's the universal version that'll kind of expand between tablets, phones, and your computer. But there's also going to be an Office 2016, which Microsoft hasn't really discussed yet. But that'll be an all-new sort of keyboard and mouse suite.
Well, I think part of the issue also is, look, this is not a fanboy comment, it's pure fact. The iPad leads the tablet market.
Mm-hmm.
And there was little to no reason to upgrade this year if you had not even just an iPad Air, but the previous generation iPad before that.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people, myself included, I was like, well, I'll just wait and see what's in the iPad Air 3.
Right.
I wasn't going to buy a new iPad simply because it had a faster processor and Touch ID. That just wasn't worth it to me.
Yeah, and thinner, but like at what point do you really need that much thinner to upgrade, an existing tablet that's already pretty darn thin? And the same thing, I mean, when you look at Samsung and Apple together totally dominate, and I think, they had the Tab S, both of those, I think it was 10 and 8.4 range, are great tablets, but again, it wasn't sort of a fourth quarter upgrade time for anybody, I don't think.
Yeah.
So.
No, I think that, I find it interesting how many, and I'm talking mainstream media, like CNBC, they rush out, is the tablet doomed? No, it's not doomed. I mean, yes, sales were down, but we're still talking about companies selling 18.4 million tablets.
Yeah, people are still buying them. The thing is, though, and I have to say this too, ever since I bought the 6 Plus, and I usually use a Note 4 also, I don't find myself using my iPad mini much, and I know a lot of other people have sort of felt that way too.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's sort of like maybe mini owners will upgrade to sort of larger iPads in the next year, because I just don't see the need for that much of a bump over my iPhone 6 Plus.
Well, I think you have a very good point there. Because the 6 Plus is so much larger, and it's in the phablet category. The iPad Mini is technically not that much larger than your iPhone 6 Plus.
Mm-hmm.
But do you think the same would be true if you had a iPad Air or Air 2? Would you still find yourself not using it as much?
I think, yeah, so I think, yes, that's also true, because I have, like a Nexus 9 and some other tablets that I just really don't use. My wife uses the Nexus 9 from time to time because it sits on my desk. But I guess it's sort of like I'm starting to find that even with the bigger phone screen, I'm not just going for the tablet. Like, my phone is enough for me in a lot of places. Even when I just traveled, actually, I used to pull out my tablet for games and books, and movies, and my iPhone sort of is just big enough for all of that.
Right. No, I get what you're saying. I still use my iPad a lot, especially when I travel, because I stock up on movies before I get on a plane and watch those.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I could technically do that on my iPhone 6 Plus, but I prefer the bigger screen. Plus, I've found if I bend the cover back, I can stick it in the seat pouch in front of me, and it just hangs there for me. So,
That's pretty sweet.
Which is nice. Every once in a while, the stewardess is like, your earphone cord can't go across the aisle. Oh, okay. I wait till she walks away. I put them back on. But
so it's not supposed to block between you and...
Technically, no. It's not supposed to block.
That's weird, because when you have the seat tray out and then you...
I know. It makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah.
She doesn't tell me to put my tray away. Why is she worried about my headphone cord?
Right.
And trust me, if the plane starts to go down, the headphones are coming off my head pretty darn fast. But
you want to listen to music in your final moments?
I just have to hear American Pie one more time. So now I think it's interesting. I'm sorry, if a company is selling 18 million of any type of device, it's hard to say that it's doomed.
Right. I just think that there has been a serious decline for Apple's iPad sales quarter over quarter over quarter over quarter. So I think people are saying, like, wow, nobody's upgrading, and they're just noting on that decline. But right, 18 million is still a lot of units.
Right. Well, here's a comment.
Another reason to buy them.
Here's a comment from a viewer, Benjamin McDonald. I'm still using my Galaxy Tab 2 10.1. Exactly. With tablets, there's just not as much reason. And honestly, we say there's not as much reason. There's not as much reason to upgrade your phones every year,
right?
Or every 6 months, as some people do. Let's face it, we're all just slaves to the upgrade cycles. No matter which phone you're using, be it iOS or Android. Although I have a very good friend that's using a Galaxy S4, and I told her when I saw her the other day that the Galaxy S6 was coming out, she's like, "That's nice." She goes, "I'm perfectly happy with this."
Right? Yeah, you see people. I mean, well, we're gadget fans, and we like to see the most advances. But I think a lot of consumers are happy with their devices for a longer period of time than we might.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, they may get device envy, but most people are able to control those urges, unless you're us.
Right.
Well, but speaking of phone upgrades, there are, at least it appears that there are two very exciting devices coming out, and I love the fact that the rumors indicate that they're both going to be announced on the same day, which seems counterproductive to me, but so yes, it does appear that on March 1st we're getting the Galaxy S6 and the HTC One M9. Neither of these
least, right? There might be more.
Yeah, exactly. Neither of these are 100% confirmed yet. We're just working off of rumors, but the rumors seem to be pretty consistent.
Right. And last year at Mobile World Congress, we saw the Galaxy S5, so seems pretty plausible we'll see the 6 this year, and I think HTC's teased it enough that we're going to see the M9 too.
Yeah, exactly. So, and we've got a couple questions here, like from Sasha Bahal. What would you like to see in the Galaxy S6, and will there be a Galaxy S6 Edge? I think the Edge is looking pretty likely at this point.
Yeah, I think even the invite sort of suggested, although the curve on the invite was interesting. It wasn't sort of where I expected. On the Note Edge, it drops off the side.
Yeah.
Which I think is still going to be the same.
It almost seemed to hump at the top on the invite.
Yeah, which I thought was weird. In any case, it should be, if there's an Edge, it should be about the same width and everything as on the Note 4, because it makes sense for developers to create the same apps that apply to both devices instead of just one.
Yeah.
It'd be a mess. So I think, yeah, there's probably an S6 Edge, and maybe on both sides, right, like some rumors said, but who knows?
Well, the thing is, last time I was out at the office, I played with the Galaxy Note Edge, and it was a very odd experience in how you hold it.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I was trying to keep my fingertips below the curve.
Yeah, you kind of on the side. You don't hold it the same way.
Exactly. And now, so they're going to do this on both sides, supposedly. How in the world, there's not going to be a natural feeling way to hold this.
Yeah. You just have to hope you're not touching the screen with your fingers all the time, and that it sort of detects when it's supposed to be tapped and not.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't holding the Note Edge that way out of any sense of safety. I was holding it out of a sense of I didn't want to accidentally activate an app.
Right. Yeah, and I don't know. I'm not crazy about the Note Edge. I like that it looks cool and stuff like that, but I actually prefer the Note to it. I'm not sure why, but I think it's because of that sort of ergonomics of the screen on the side there. It's a neat idea, though, and I think obviously Samsung will try to push it forward with the S6 Edge if that really comes to true fruition. What else I'd like to see, though, is carry over some of the design elements we saw in the Note 4, metal edges, real premium feeling smartphone. Although I'm kind of sad to see rumors that they might ditch the water resistance. I thought that was a pretty nice selling point of the Galaxy S5, sort of making it this lifestyle device for everywhere.
Now, here's my big question, though. Will Samsung have learned from their previous press events and not have the awkward banter?
No, it'll be the exact same, I guarantee. Especially
awesome.
European press event. I'm sure it's going to be an exciting show.
Those banter moments are some of the most painful things ever to watch.
Yeah, the last one I think was at IFA when we saw the Note 4 announcement. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't envy you because you're sitting in the room.
Yeah, just goes on forever. So
there was it was my first CES. I went to the Microsoft keynote, and they brought out an executive to talk about her experience with the Windows Phone and how it changes her life and all that. And I was IMing with another writer friend of mine, and we were trying to figure out which one of us had the sniper shot on her. She was painful.
Yeah.
Oh, it was painful. So, yeah, Samsung is famous for that. But moving on to HTC, so the One M9 looks like it's a definite here. I mean, the rumors on the other versions of the One M9 keep seeming to
the One M9
fluctuate.
I'm not sure because in the past we saw the One Max, and that was with the M7 came out later. So I don't know if it's going to be on track for the same time or it might be a couple months down the road. If I had to guess, I'd say a couple months down the road, but I'm not sure because I think they're going to try to probably highlight, the M9 right now instead of doing two at the same time. You don't see a lot of people doing that. I mean, Apple did it because they only have one refresh cycle a year, but you don't see Samsung announcing, S6 and Note 4 at the same time. I think HTC would be wise to stick to one at a time. So we'll see. Although I guess rumors are saying 1080p screen, which is fine. Doesn't really excite me as much as some of the 2K displays do. And then I think they're going to carry over a lot of things that have done well for them, like the front-facing boom sound speakers. Let's see if they improve for the third generation. And then I want to see what they do on the camera front. If they really do bump it up to say 20 megapixels or something like that, I think that could be really good too.
Right. Yeah. I think that. I think HTC is going to stick to just one phone. Samsung, there's so much that they release in a year that they can't help but do more than one device at a time.
Right.
But with HTC, I think they're just going to focus on the main M9, and then maybe a month, 2 months later, we'll see some other variation of it.
Right, exactly. Or, I mean, it could even be as late as September, say, later down the road at IFA. I have to apologize for the thumping in the background. There's construction going on. High-rises going up all around me.
I figured you're doing some light drumming under the table or something. Yeah.
No, I deal with that all day.
And people wonder why I like living in the middle of nowhere. But so moving back to tablets for just a moment, we have a question here from Nishant Patel. Should we expect the next iPad to be with stylus? If the rumors of the iPad Pro are true, the larger 12-inch version, I could see it coming with a stylus. Or what? I'm sure that I can almost guarantee you Apple will never utter the word stylus.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm not so sure Apple. It's not that kind of sexy thing.
Yeah, it'll be like the Apple Pen or something like that. Who knows?
Yeah.
I think if the iPad Pro is real, I think it could come with one. I don't see them doing it though to the normal iPad or the iPad Mini.
Yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like Johnny Ive's design language to have like a stylus anywhere, whether it inserts into the side of the tablet or it's like another accessory that you lose because you don't have that insertion point. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's like the Microsoft Surface Pro 3 doesn't have a slot for it, so you have to have it on an accessory, and I think that's kind of wonky.
Okay, what if it's magnetized?
The Galaxy Note 4 does it really well. I just don't see that kind of design language.
Let's say it's magnetized and it just sticks to the side of the iPad. I suggest
the original Surface, I think, had that. It stuck to the power thing on the side.
Well, I just want them to do that just so we can hear Johnny Ive say, it's unapologetically magnetic.
Yeah, that'd be pretty funny.
I just want everything now. Ever since the iPhone 5C video, I just want everything that Johnny Ive's talking about. I want him to say it's something unapologetically something.
Right.
The iPhone 5C is unapologetically plastic.
But I think if you look at current iPads, there's plenty of third-party options that you can use as a stylus.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Apple's going to change that.
And we were sent a sample pack of a bunch of different third-party styluses, and I used one for 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't feel as natural. I could launch apps with it, I could write with it, and so on. I guess I'm just so used to using my finger now, it just didn't feel right to use anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. So moving on to some other topics, I see several questions coming in about the Apple Watch. Let's see here. From Sean the Man 34, do you think that we could see more from the Apple Watch, another keynote, and what would you like to see? I think another keynote is a given.
Yeah, it seems like it. There was a rumor that it was going to happen in February, which was then shot down. But if you look back to 2012 when Apple announced, yeah, thank goodness, because we're going to be in Mobile World Congress and that's going to be crazy. But if you go back to 2012, Mobile World Congress, in February, Apple sent out invites for an event in early March where it announced a new iPad. And so it's plausible that Apple will do that again this year, especially if you have Samsung, announcing a new flagship smartphone there. Apple might want to kind of do its typical thing and try to disrupt the show a little bit. So we'll see. But I think a keynote seems plausible. I mean, Apple can go over the prices of the watch, how you're going to interact with it through the software. We just saw the icon for the management application that'll come out. And then iOS 8.2, all the updates to that. And then maybe, even that rumored 12-inch MacBook Air might make an appearance. So I think there's enough to talk about if they wanted to.
Oh, I definitely think there is as well. And, there's all the rumors that the iPad Pro could launch in the spring. So, they could bring that out as well. But, yeah, I think this is too big of a product launch for there not to be another keynote. Mm-hmm. And also the fact that, what we saw previously was just the prototype, so they're going to want to show us, the finalized everything.
Yeah.
And
I want to hear about that battery life too.
Yeah.
Which might not be as good as we're all hoping.
Exactly. Funny thing though was yesterday when the rumor first came out, you and I were discussing. February 24th was just not going to be a good date for us, which Apple does not consult us.
Right.
And you and I were going through our theories on why Apple wouldn't choose that date, and I think the one that held the most water for me was the one we were saying about Apple doesn't like to go before somebody else.
Yeah.
Because then that allows that company to overtake the news cycle. So let's say that Apple did hold a press event, just a few days before the announcement of the Galaxy S6 and the HTC M9. Well, then once those were announced, everyone would immediately go back to talking about those rumors. Then everyone would talk about those phones, and the Apple announcement would be lost, in the river. So what I've found over the years is that Apple likes to, okay, you have your little party, you announce your product, boom, here's our invite, and we're now going to control the news cycle for the next 7 days.
Right, yeah, I think that's more likely.
Yeah, and so my gut feeling is I think the invites are going to go out during MWC.
Yep, seems plausible to me.
Although I don't, since March 1st is a Sunday, I don't think they'll go out that day and try to steal the thunder right then. But sometime during MWC, the invites are going to go out. That's a prediction, everyone. That is not even a rumor, not a fact, pure speculation. Because I know somebody will call me on it shortly thereafter. Jumping over to 5 days ago, you and I got a tweet from Connor Furlong asking us, if you could be the CEO of any existing tech company for the next 2 years, which would you choose? The reason I'm looking over here, folks, is this is the screen where Twitter is. So I actually have been thinking about this during the show, so I'll let you go first, Todd. What company would you love to be the head of?
I don't know. I said simply Google because I think they have, their hand all across the industry, from self-driving cars to wearables to mobile to search to sort of everything. And I think and expanding the internet around the world, I think it would just be exciting to see all their projects. And then, their secret stuff, Project X, all the stuff that they're working on that nobody knows about. I think that would be pretty exciting.
I was thinking more that I'd like to be the CEO of like a small company, like say a OnePlus, for example, because then you wouldn't have as many expectations on you. You could you could be a little crazier, and yes, Google has the money.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, no, and you have I mean, if I could be the CEO of Google and just focus on the moonshot stuff. Right. Fantastic. But yeah, I mean, if I could be the CEO of a small company that was willing to take risks and try something absolutely new and had the money to be able to do that, that would be fantastic. Or whatever company would just pay me a gigantic sum of money for 2 years of me sitting around on my behind. But
give you an airplane.
Exactly. But interesting question, something we had definitely never thought of before. And that's just a note to everyone. If you ever want to tweet Todd and I questions during the week, don't go nuts. You can reach Todd at RoboTodd and myself at Sean Piani, and we'll see if we can't use them in the following week's show. Going through some other questions here, which we have a lot of here. We didn't really touch on this from Sasha Bahal. What would you like to see in the HTC One M9? Is there any feature that you're really wishing HTC would do?
I think it's just the camera I'd like to see step up its game. I do like the ultra pixel stuff, but I just don't like that I can't really zoom in, later. So I'd like to see them bump the megapixel count, and maybe get a little slightly larger screen would be good for me. That's why I think maybe, depending on what we see with the M9, I might be more excited about the M9 Plus. 'Cause, if you listen to the show, I like phablets. So I think those are the two things. I think the M8 was great and still is a great smartphone.
Mm-hmm. No, the M8 is a great phone. There's not a whole lot I would change about it. I was very happy with the M8. Faster processor is always nice, though.
Yeah.
Here's an interesting question from Tony Yayo. What's the difference between the Apple Watch and Microsoft Band? They're very different creatures, I think.
Yeah. Well, for one, the Microsoft Band's available now. Starts at $200. Has a small screen, but it's touch screen. You can go through and choose. It seems to have most. I mean, it does have a focus more on sort of fitness, but you can also get your notifications, which is nice from Android, iOS, and Windows Phone, which is different than the Apple Watch, which will only be iOS. And it does have apps, sort of. There's a Starbucks app, which is the only one that's like a third party for it that I've used. It's really great. I like it. The battery life's solid. I get about 2 days of battery life with it. But I think that's sort of like the main difference is it's not an app portal, which is what I think the Apple Watch is going to be. I mean, your developers already working with WatchKit to develop apps for the Apple Watch, and the Microsoft Band to me is sort of just right now, fitness and notification, sort of smartwatch health band.
Yeah. Speaking of Apple Watch, we've got a couple variations on this question, oddly. From Sean the Man 34, what model and color Apple Watch are you going to get? And I know I saw somewhere else, from Slash and Ball, are any of you going to get the Apple Watch when it comes out in April? As it stands right now, I'm not.
I think I will because I'm interested in it, but if I do, it would be probably the metal one because if I'm going to spend that kind of money on a device, I kind of want one that looks nice, instead of plastic. But I'm really going to sit on the sidelines sort of and see what the battery life is like. If it's hours, there's no way I'm buying it because I already, I take off my wearables all the time because I end up having to charge them and then I just don't put them back on again. And until I have them charged and really get back into it, then I'm not using them. And I just think if battery life doesn't get you through a full day, and I'd like to see longer than that, then I don't think I'm going to spend that kind of money on it.
And let us be very clear. We are talking, Todd and I are talking personally here. TechnoBuffalo will, of course, get an Apple Watch to test and review and all that. But on a personal level, unless I hear some yes, everything we've heard about the battery life up to this point has been rumor. But if any of that proves to be true, if it's less than a day, I'm just not interested.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't need another thing in my life that needs to be charged every single day.
Yeah, and it's useless without the battery.
Exactly.
Which I've had at the end of the day, like I'm wearing something and it's dead, and I'm like, ugh, like why am I even bothering?
Yeah, because the last thing you want to do is, yes, a device may be wonderful while it's charged up, but as soon as it dies, you're like, oh, why am I carrying this around?
Yeah. The other thing is like they have all these use cases that look cool in a commercial that are like use your my Moto 360 for Delta check-in, and I actually tried it. I think on the way to CES just for kicks, and the scanner just wasn't picking up the barcode, and I was like, all right, forget it, just use my phone. I didn't want to hold up the line. And it's one of those things. If everything doesn't work really well, then you're kind of like, okay, it can do cool stuff theoretically, but not well all the time. And at that point, then forget it.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens with it.
Let's see here. Interesting question also about the Apple Watch from Sean the Man 34. Are you a little concerned that Apple Watch pre-orders will go out and people will have to order without ever seeing or trying it on? Thoughts?
No, I think that'll definitely happen. That's how Apple always. I mean, they'll probably announce it and say orders today, and people who want to buy it can. It's the same with all of the products they sell.
And there will be lines outside the Apple stores of people that have never touched one.
Right, just like all of their stuff. So,
yeah,
that's sort of maybe they'll have regrets. I don't know. We'll have to see it before we say that. But I think they will probably accept pre-orders. Certainly.
Yeah. From Jonathan Inano, do you think Microsoft will release a flagship phone along with Windows 10 to replace the 930?
I'd like to see that. There was the rumors, I forget what it was called, but the new one that was going to replace the 1020, and that I guess was canceled. But I think they need to have something, push something bigger, better out there. What it is, I don't know yet, but we'll see. I think so.
Here's a fun question from Benjamin McDonald. The LG G Watch costs $119.91 USD in Sweden. Is it worth it? The Pebble, not steel, is twice the cost. Boy, that's a
tough
odd
question.
situation.
That's about what I sold my G Watch for. So
Yeah,
considering I sold it,
I hate to put it this way. I mean, if it was any other watch than the G Watch, if it was like the G Watch R, I'd say go for it.
yeah, G Watch R's are great.
Yeah, the G Watch itself was. It's
more of like a reference design, it's just a square. I mean, in terms of what you can do with them, the Pebble can do more. But Android Wear is, growing in popularity. There's more apps for it now. You can change the watch faces. It's becoming a lot better. But, if anything, that price is going to go down. So
yeah, I would hold off. At that price, it's tempting.
They just said that. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, yes, and we do have some questions here about Pebble. Let me find that. From Sasha Bahal, thoughts on 1 million Pebbles and new stuff from Pebble in 2015. I'm very excited to see what they've got planned. As you all can see, I'm wearing a Pebble right now. I never picked up Pebble Steel. I just didn't see a whole lot of. I'm quite happy with the original Pebble. I want to see what's going on. And I hate to say, anyone selling 1 million of anything is awesome, but that does seem low to me.
I think it took 2 years too, right? So,
yeah.
But it was a Kickstarter, and now it's sort of a success story built out of that. But let's see what it can do to compete. I mean, when it launched, the competition wasn't as stiff as as it's about to be, and so I think Pebble needs to. Maybe it'll go with some kind of color screen, but one that lasts longer would be a good option. And they really need to have a better design. I think Pebble Steel is good looking. It's definitely not as good looking as other watches out there, other smartwatches out there. So I think whatever they have next has to prove that they're still in the game and can take on Apple and all of Google's partners, which is going to be tough because Apple's going to sell 1 million a lot quicker than Pebble just did.
Yeah. Question from Mark Lane. I was looking to buy a Moto 360. John mentioned how one might be announced Q2. Does that mean released in Q2? Because the previous Moto 360 was announced pretty early but came out much later. I think in this case it would be an announcement much closer to the launch. The original Moto 360 was announced just because Google wanted everyone to know that there was more Android watches coming.
Mm-hmm.
I think in this case, if it's announced, it's going to be maybe a couple weeks, maybe a month, but I don't think it's going to be anywhere the weight the original 360 was.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, but I think typically what we usually see is announcement followed by launch and not always immediate. So I would, maybe Q2 though. I mean, a quarter is 3 months, so you could announce it early on and have 3 months to get it out.
Okay, well, this next question is a bit of a hand grenade, but since it has the most upvotes right now. From Sasha Bahal, what do you guys think about net neutrality?
I support it. I think it should be a utility, as FCC Chairman Wheeler said yesterday. I think it makes sense. But I understand where other companies have said that it could prevent innovation. I'm not sure I agree with that, but I can see the argument.
I can see the argument, but my feeling is that data is data. I don't care what that data is doing. And the idea to restrict the flow of any data, it's all ones and zeros. Every last bit of it is ones and zeros. Just because my ones and zeros are more popular than someone else's ones and zeros doesn't mean I should have to pay you for the right for my ones and zeros to get through the pipeline.
Yeah, but and here's the other side of the argument that I understand sometimes is when they're talking about speeds or something, like why does Comcast need to offer you faster speeds than Verizon? Like they're saying they're putting all this money into their networks, and of course the argument for that is that competition in the market will continue to push both of them to do that. But they're going to say, well, then we have no reason to compete if everything is sort of just governed by the government in that way. So I don't know. But I think net neutrality is a good thing.
In general, I think as with anything, there are gray areas. The world is unfortunately not black or white. It would be lovely if it was, because then I could just go, I don't like you, go away. But there's gray areas with net neutrality, but in general, yes, I agree with it.
Yeah.
Okay, now that hand grenade is out of our.
I think what we want to say is, like, it would be terrible if your internet service provider had the option to say you can't, for example, get Netflix, or you can't have this because we don't offer it and we want you to use our service. And that's why I support net neutrality.
Exactly. From Sean the Man 34, what company would you like to see Apple buy with all of their cash? I've thought about this a lot. I don't know.
I don't know, something with good cloud storage.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of iCloud these days, and I'd like to see them boost their presence in that market.
Right. I mean, they are going to go spend $2 billion on this data center in Arizona, which happens to be in the building of a failed project. That was the oddest situation I think I've ever witnessed in this industry. Oh my! But they are sitting on a war chest that people can only dream of having.
Yeah.
But I think part of the way they've gotten to this war chest is that they are very, very meticulous in what they do with their cash. They don't go out and just buy companies to buy them. And I think every purchase they've made has made sense. Now, what I will say is surprising is, just yesterday we wrote up the story about that Samsung will probably start producing the A9 for the next iPhone. Why hasn't Apple invested in starting their own chip production?
I think they used to, right?
They used to.
Yeah.
But they are relying on so many third parties that a good example, my father used to work for a company years ago that the man who ran the company started to think about it, and he went, why am I contracting out to other people to do these things for me? And so he started investing in, he needed some sort of giant sand furnaces for his business. So he went out and he bought a company with sand furnaces. He allowed them to still contract out to other people, but his orders always took priority.
Mm-hmm.
And so then he had full use of the sand furnaces whenever he needed them, but he was also able to recoup some of that investment by allowing them to contract out. And so I've looked at Apple and I wonder, why do they continue to go to, why haven't they started their own glass production? Why haven't they started their own chip production?
Right. Well, I think they tried to do glass a little bit with Sapphire, with GT Advance, and they're now going with Foxconn as a contractor. But I don't know. I mean, maybe it's because these companies, have fabrications to build these processors for plenty of clients, and so when Apple's just sort of buying one slice of what these factories can do, they would have to be willing to build these factories and then sell to other people as well. I mean, when you look at displays, right? Like if they buy displays from Sharp's not just making displays for Apple; they're making them for other competitors and for themselves. And I don't know, maybe Apple doesn't want to build these parts for other people.
Yeah, I know. I know there's a lot of questions around it. It puzzles me because I've seen this business model work. So it's curious to me, I guess, is the way to put it. That Apple still does rely so much on third-party companies, but as for ready-made companies that they could step in and buy, I don't know. I mean, Beats was kind of a surprise to me.
Yeah.
So maybe Apple's going to do something else that surprises us. But I do agree with you, Todd. I would love to see them invest more in cloud storage and improve iCloud.
Yeah, and I don't know what the right company to buy in there would be, but then I don't.
Yeah, exactly.
Why, like GoPro, but I don't think they'll buy GoPro.
Yeah, I don't know.
That would be, let's see, worth $3 billion with their market.
Yeah, exactly. From Mark Lane, people have said.
Sorry.
No problem. People have said Samsung is about to buy BlackBerry. Given Windows 10's push for enterprise and its Internet of Things focus, should Microsoft buy BlackBerry, and would that let them dominate the enterprise market?
I think Microsoft probably looks at BlackBerry and sees it as as leaving the industry, maybe, and in that case, Microsoft will just continue to try to take over. But I don't know what Microsoft's plan is for the enterprise market. I mean, we know that Windows 10, the operating system, and I don't mean the phone, is free for consumers, but not for enterprise, which seems weird if you want to get them, back on your systems. But I guess Windows 7 is still really popular. In terms of mobile, I think we're going to have to see sort of what Windows 10 for phones offers and what their strategy is moving forward. But I don't know that they're worried about BlackBerry is probably my answer, and that's probably why they're not.
Yeah, I honestly, I could see why Samsung would want to buy BlackBerry, because they really don't have a foothold in the enterprise market. Microsoft does, and I think at this point, I think Microsoft just wants to see BlackBerry go away.
That's my guess.
My gut feeling, and this is not a political commentary or anything. My gut feeling is BlackBerry is eventually going to go away. I think they've got so set in their mind that they can revive this, that they are just going to continue to dance on the little piece of wood left floating in the ocean until that piece of wood disintegrates.
Yeah, I mean, I just wrote up the Kantar World Panel had a percentages for smartphone market share in the United States, which is dominated by iOS and Android. iOS, excuse me, I'm sick, was ahead by a 0.01 percentage points, but then followed with a sliver of Windows Phone and then other, which includes BlackBerry, but it was not even a slice of the pie, really.
It wasn't even 1%.
Right.
Yeah, and that's not enough. Well, folks, I think that is going to do for this week. As always, we do appreciate you joining us. As always, you can find the TechnoBuffalo Show on the iTunes Store, where we do appreciate if you rate and review us. You can also find us on the Stitcher app. You can find us on Pocket Cast. You can subscribe via RSS feed. Anywhere that there are podcasts, you can find the TechnoBuffalo Show. Until next time, I'm Sean Ani. I am the editor-in-chief of TechnoBuffalo. I have been joined by Deputy Managing Editor Todd Hazelton.
Bye, everybody.
And we'll see you all next week. Till then, take it easy.